I, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you this important bulletin from the United Press. Flash, Washington. The White House announces Japanese attack.
We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast. The German news agency Transocean said today in a broadcast that the Allied invasion had begun. I repeat, the German news agency Transocean said today in a broadcast that the Allied invasion had begun. There was no Allied confirmation.
Glorious hour. I only wish that Franklin D. Roosevelt had lived to witness this day. General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations. The flags of freedom fly all over Europe.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Congress passes the most sweeping civil rights bill ever to be written into the law, and thus reaffirms the conception of equality for all men that began with Lincoln and the Civil War 100 years ago.
Gutted shells of buildings, flames raging out of control, and an atmosphere of apprehension still hover over the quieting Watts section of Los Angeles. Here for successive days and nights, mostly in the nights, the long hot summer had erupted into violence.
The Mandelbaum Gate between Israeli and Arab Jerusalem. It became an arbitrary barrier when Israel forced the world to acknowledge her existence nearly 20 years ago. But now, a triumphant Israeli army had smashed the barrier.
It may be small, but it's mighty significant, because apart from Rhodesia, Swaziland is the last British territory in Africa to obtain independence.
To tonight's headlines, Israel, mourning its dead and angered at the killers, prepares to hold a state funeral tomorrow for the 11 Olympic team members slain in West Germany. The Olympic Games are resumed after memorial services attended by 80,000 persons are held in Munich.
Good evening. The Middle East War produced developments all over the world today. The oil-producing countries of the Arab world decided to use their oil as a political weapon. They will reduce oil production by 5% a month until the Israelis withdraw from occupied territories. If the Arab countries keep that pledge, it would reduce their production by almost 50% in 1 year.
The preceding were some Morris matters of the past. Now join us in the den of discussion to listen to and talk about Morris matters occurring currently and anticipate those that will affect us in the future. Let's make history together. This broadcast is hosted by an independent thinker and speaker who will show you why Morris matters should matter to you. Hi everybody, Richard Morris here, bringing you another issue that should matter to you. This podcast details the issues brought out on April 30th of 2024 regarding the redevelopment of the now closed St. Luke's Hospital. But first, some commentary. Although it is only the second public meeting, residents are already frustrated with what they have heard so far and what they heard at this meeting. You see, government officials have earned at least a degree of untrustworthiness by the general populace. I'm sure you heard the refrain that they do what they want anyway. At the end of the meeting, Christian, a representative of Mohawk Valley EDGE, rushed to the podium and said, "Even if we made the best plan, like even if you have this plan that everybody loved, the first major investor here is going to throw it in the garbage." A direct quote. So why are we here? was the feeling from the many people I talked with after the presentation. At this hearing, there was a brief Q&A. But during this exchange, one of the organizers shouted, "Let's go to the cafeteria," effectively ending full audience participation. I found the thoughts and views of members of the audience to be quite informative. Unfortunately, organizers of both the St. Elizabeth's and St. Luke's redevelopment projects apparently don't want you to learn from your neighbors, just from them. Through our website and podcast, Morris Matters, we're keenly interested in feeling the pulse of people on a variety of issues. You can send us your thoughts using denofdiscussion at gmail.com. Please click on the podcast follow button so you can be better informed. Now, on with the show.
Good evening once again. I'm Oneida County Executive Anthony Vicente. I welcome you here tonight at New York Mills School. I want to thank the school for having us and allowing us this opportunity. You know, we met here about a couple months ago in February, and to kick off the Reimagine St. Luke's process. That I'm glad to see some of the same faces that were here the first time, and appreciate that. I also want to acknowledge some of the partners that are in the room. Paul Michione, the supervisor from the town of New Hartford, is with us, along with Councilor John Latini, Dave Reynolds over there as well. I hope I didn't miss anybody. We have staff from Mohawk Valley EDGE as well, and some county legislators here as well, and Caitlin McCann, Vice President from Mohawk Valley Health Systems as well. So when we met in February and kicked off this process, it was, you know, with the intention of continuing this public input and process to have people come, and the neighbors, the stakeholders of this area of the St. Luke's campus, and really, you know, a cross section because of the way, as we said, this campus really connects, you know, more than one municipality between Utica, New Hartford, Yorkville, New York Mills. So, you know, tonight, well, back in February, after we gave a brief presentation, we went back into the cafeteria, and all of you, many of you, put down thoughts, ideas of what St. Luke's meant, what you'd like to see, what you wouldn't like to see. And I just saw the mayor of New York Mills, Ernie Tellerico. I'm sorry, Ernie, I missed you here as well. What you'd like to see, what some ideas are. So now we've had the opportunity over the last couple months to go back. Joni Fu is here from Fu Elmers, who's going to take over in a moment and kind of go through some of what we heard from you and saw, and what they have taken a look at in terms of some different scenarios. Now, to be clear, again, nothing has been decided. No, this is just the second step in the process of continuing the public input and the opportunity for all of you to give your thoughts, to listen, to see. And we're going to continue this. I said when we began this process that we would continue to have enough public meetings so that the neighbors, stakeholders, everyone involved would have the opportunity to be a part of this process. So again, no decisions have been made. Again, we're still not there yet. We still have time before a master plan of sorts or something is put together. But continuing on the process of showing you and seeing what could be comparisons of different areas and different settings, the ability of what people have had to do to, in terms of, looking at this overall footprint, some market information, some other, site analysis, as you see, and then obviously some more brainstorming about, what can be done and what what you like, what you didn't like, and what other thoughts you had maybe in the time since the February meeting to tonight. So again, I thank all of you for being here tonight and for participating in this. Before we start, any questions or anything before we get kicking off? If not, I will turn it over to Joni Fu and Fu Wilmers, and she will take you through the next part of this process. Thank you. Joni?
It's so great to see so many familiar faces. And if you're first time joining us, very big welcome. So as County Executive mentioned, we're going to spend a few minutes here in this room. I will report to you the market scan, which is necessary for us. Thank you. Okay. Is this okay? Is this better? I will report to you our findings for market scan and our findings for site analysis, along with your input from February. We will together, and input from tonight, we will try to come up with some scenarios for you to review next time in June. So I will just go ahead and dive in. Last time we met, our community workshop number 1 was on February 13th. Many of you joined us. We had a presentation about the site, and then we had an activity where we asked you a few questions. Folks wrote many great comments on these big boards. You know, imagine St. Luke's, what kind of benefits it would bring to the neighborhood. Things like, how is St. Luke's special to you? You know, what would make this place successful? We love it when you see here some of the comments. People actually commented on each other's comments. Yes, no, we like this, we don't like this. So it was truly a great community discussion. And, you know, also we want to be inspired by other places that you have visited. So a lot of you mentioned many things, and, you know, again, you can see how people commented on each other's write-up. Yes, you know, yes with exclamation marks, things like that. If you missed, it's hard to read here. This is posted on our website, reimaginestluke's.com. You can visit as often as you like. There's more information there about the community workshop. Number 1, this meeting summary will be posted. Advisory group committee notes are posted there. So what we took from February are all those notes carefully written up, and we drafted a community vision, you know, so that for you to review. So this you will see later printed really big in cafeteria. We hope that you will comment, read this, think it through, or go to the website, give us comment. We check the website, gather information twice a week, if not every day. We also drafted some community goals. Those are listed down below. Create a neighborhood, make an interesting destination, gathering places for all ages, include a variety of housing types, that should be, and expand education, job creation opportunities. So those are kind of setting the bar for the plan that have yet to be developed. So we want to have enough information for us to work through some alternative scenarios, as County Executive mentioned, in the next 8 weeks. So a little bit about the process. On the diagram on the right here, you see community input, market intelligence, site analysis. They're kind of an ever-evolving, iterative process that we've been through for the first I want to say 35% of the work so far. We are currently approaching a milestone that is to set up a framework and it really set up the principles for us to move forward for concept development, and at that time you will see the formation of a plan, and it will be generated by all of your input and market intelligence and our site understanding. So many of you know that parallel to this effort there is a facility study about the hospital building and the site. Phase 1 of the environmental site assessment has been completed, except for the main hospital parcel. So this information will also figure into the final site plan. You know, there will be a determination whether the building is salvageable, adaptive reuse, would that be a possibility, and also the cost for that will be also a variant in all the decision making. So I'm going to jump into a little bit of the market analysis methodology first. Why do a market scan? You know, the first question, which is we want to make sure this is realistic, it's grounded in the place that this is, Mohawk Valley, Utica, New Hartford. The market analysis team has interviewed many stakeholders, developers in the area from Albany, Syracuse, local, all the way to Buffalo. We want to understand the demographics and the residential and commercial background of what we're working with. And all of that will translate into a set of mix of uses and what we call programmatic requirements. Things like, you know, are we looking at townhouses? Are we looking at single-family homes? Are we looking at apartment buildings? And just the amount for each of that type. So it's really a market-based, market-driven plan. And in the end, how to make that happen, right? So the study area that is considered for the market analysis includes all of Mohawk Valley, demographic, social, economic basis, and then we also look closely at New Hartford and Utica closer to the site. You know, this is a automobile-driven town, so we looked at 15-minute and 30-minute drive from the site to study what are the market conditions for residential development and for commercial development. So really 4 takeaways for the bigger Mohawk Valley region study. Oneida County has remained constant in the population. However, household number actually grew in the last 10 years, I would say, and that is because the population stays the same, but how do the household number grow is because the household are getting smaller, so that there's more numbers per household, per population. And in many ways, it's because the second point here, in the last 10 years, the growth has really been in the younger generation, young married couple, single family, single households, and also households of older folks, ages 65 and plus. So median income has increased, that's the third point. And the fourth point is job creation in the Mohawk Valley region, and especially in Oneida County has grown so much. So this is what this is mean. It's all great news to us because it's kind of perfect timing for offering up a master plan that is a longer vision for planning to the current real estate market, and also with somewhat of a prediction and a trend understanding for the future. So the real estate takeaway from a residential point of view is that there are already some development going on in the area, right? Multifamily added over 2,000 units in the past 10 years. It doesn't mean that we should, it's stopping. The trend is growing, and rents are growing steadily, and the new development mostly is rental, in the rental market, some ownership market as well, because the clientele tailors to the younger generation. So the rental market is really strong. The newer development trend is planned for walkable development, walkable communities. The younger generation, or I shouldn't say that, actually the older generation, also myself included, enjoy the walkable community, walk near your shops, and to be able to walk to a restaurant, come home without taking your car is a luxury, right? So what this is all mean to our master plan is an appetite for continued residential development. We think of a variety of housing developments, probably mostly in the rental market, and also what's most important, following the trend of the recent development, is create a sense of place. A place is where you have different activities that you can do in addition to living. Living, working, and playing is gathered in a small, compact area. About commercial development, you see that the mix of what people say about, mixed-use development, ground floor retail, living on top, that is definitely the trend, but we see even more than that. There's more to mixed-use development. It's kind of the living quality of the place for people to enjoy different kind of uses all at one place. So we would like, in St. Luke's new plan, to capture the demand on the right-hand side that you see the 3 bullet points. The unmet demand for food and beverage and retail services. Because, we do not imagine, you will see a little bit later in the presentation, we do not imagine a shopping center. We imagine a different kind of shops, a different kind of retail, a different kind of experience for folks. We imagine there's some community facility embedded in this plan, and the site will probably not have an office component to it because the office market is really kind of non-existent right now. But perhaps, on the second floor of some buildings, there could be professional offices, small offices, attorneys, accountants, that's mixed in within that. So it's truly a place to live, work, and play together. So I'm going to go quickly into site analysis. You have a great structure to start with. On the screen is the plan, Olmsted's plan for City of Utica. And that you are so lucky to have such a plan with a grid of streets. Connectivity is really strong. Park spaces, Memorial Parkway, around just the foothills of the topography. I won't go into details here, but a lot of the studies, we have so much research into this. On the left, you see that everything that we have looked into, historic data, historic analysis of how development trends through the years, past studies, current studies, planned projects. Transportation-wise, a lot of the transportation studies we got from Oneida County Planning. Pedestrian roam is a qualitative analysis. People are not so used to walking, and it's not people do not want to walk. It's the walking environment is not quite there, right? So we looked into land uses. Regional landscape is a really important point for us. You have beautiful mountains and hills and valleys and riverbeds, and existing groves of trees and hedgerows are really important to us. We looked at adjacent properties, surrounding neighborhoods, and overall just the study of the built environment. Here are, sort of the two ends of the spectrum, historic buildings and new development trends. We study those. We love your historic buildings. The mills carry so much character. So around our site, the orange dot in the middle are three historic villages, Whitesboro, New Hartford, and Clinton. We visited all of them, and we quickly realized they're very close to our site, and we want to understand the size of those villages. So here's what we call scale comparison of those three villages onto our site. You will see the boundary of our site is the dotted black line. So the village of Clinton on the very far left is a village green. It's pretty much in the north-south direction, and the village is organized around that green. The village of New Hartford is the east-west direction. Sorry. Oops, went too far. Is in the east-west direction, and Genesee Street runs around the north side of the village, and the village green actually has a building, a church building in it. So, sometimes you can have a park space and you can use the park space for activities or even develop an activity, develop a building. On the far right is Whitesboro. It's very narrow, and the retail is organized north of the green, not on the green, which we found really interesting. It kind of creates a dynamic of a retail street just north of the green, and you come to the green and it's a more quiet space. So variations for us to learn from and consider. We also looked at the residential life and the daily experience of the folks here. So here's a scale comparison of Consumer Square, which many of you I'm sure are familiar with. The site is almost similar in size. Right, so it's 500,000 square feet of retail space. In the middle diagram, you see they're all grouped together into one square, and all this is at the same scale. We can, have another shopping center, but we do not want to have another shopping center, and we do not want to have a sea of parking on our site. Caitlin's laughing. We looked at your transportation, land use, and open space. I can't be the first person to tell you the roads are so wide here. It is totally designed for traffic, right? Roads are fast traffic, many lanes, not really designed for people. It's hard to cross the street. It's difficult to walk from block to block. A sidewalk is not continuous for both of our frontage roads, Chaplin Avenue and Burston Road. So we would consider sidewalk kind of development, blocks that are surrounded with proper sidewalks so people can walk from their home to the shops. I mean, Clinton Village to me is a quintessential example. Maybe we're looking for a modern version of Clinton Village, something where people can, do your errands and grab coffee and have dinner at the same time, go to church, So we have a 6-acre wetlands on our site. They are great examples and opportunities to engage in the natural feature and make that part of the development, sort of turn the back door into the front door experience so that people can actually walk through, learn from. It's a great educational opportunity. Maybe kids can have field trips here, get out of the classroom and learn something from our site. So public space and public room, we heard from you all the importance of a gathering space, a social space for the community. So we have some examples here of different types of plazas and parks. It's a great organizing element for planning. And also just the day and night at the bottom, you see some pictures of town centers and Main Street where uses continue through from the morning to the evening. Sometimes streets are closed for restaurant activities, whatnot. So 2 more examples, and then we'll jump into some site challenges. This is a scale comparison of Armory Square in Syracuse. So this is, again, a space a lot like New Hartford's Green. It's oriented east-west with the building inside. And the retail space, restaurant space, and the walkable space are indicated in yellow right here. So it's a little bit offset from the green. What it creates is a holistic community, walkable streets with a center green, and these blocks are retail on the ground floor, apartments on top, sometimes small offices on top. This next example is J Street Marketplace in Schenectady. The street is close to traffic, so it's entirely pedestrian. It's just about 1 or 2 blocks long, 520 feet at the beginning, before you actually encounter their city hall right here as a park. What's interesting about this is we actually have a very small window of opportunity to bring people in from Burston Road to our site. So we kind of place J Street right at that window of opportunity, not at the corner where Friendly is just a little bit behind or a little bit to the west. So it's almost an example of how much retail can we bear, can we offer, and what kind of a walkable environment can we have on site. A small little bit of a village. So here are some of multiple family townhouses housing prototypes, from apartment buildings at the upper left. Many of that you're familiar with the Air City Lofts. And also Tech Barn, perhaps. You can see at Tech Barn it's a little bit more mixed use, where student activities and retail are mixed in with the development. In the middle picture here is one of my favorite images here that we pulled together. It's actually cottages, cluster single-family homes. So they're single-family homes, but they're grouped together. They share a green space. There's a lot of social opportunity in that green space. What you don't see here are, some folks are having a picnic together, or, just decide a get-together when the daylight hours are long. On the right are some examples for townhouses. We're not afraid to offer some high-rise or mid-rise apartment buildings, because on-site here, you're used to seeing some taller buildings, so maybe there could be higher density, although parking is to be considered for that. So we have to organize the parking and see how, just the breakdown between these different components, how much of one type of housing is something that we will look into along with our economic consultant in the next few weeks. So I have the last few slides here to let you know about some site challenges, site analysis, the technical term. Our site has 4 very different edges. On one side is a low density, low rise residential community. And even though there is a hedgerow there, people enjoy the trails leading through the site. And also we have CRCCS, which is a remaining healthcare service on site, and we need to consider their uses and their operation. To the north, open greenery, and to the east, Utica University. Utica University is a great anchor for us. Physically, they're slightly divided by Chaplain Avenue, and they have a landscape setback and a ring of parking. So the idea of integrating with Utica University is a fantastic one, but how do we do that? How do we physically address the challenges of a very big wide road where it's difficult to cross? How do we address the edges of landscape and parking? And then to the south, commercial and retail corridor on Burston Road. So 4 very different conditions requires 4 very different responses. So that's our first task. we ask our questions. How do we take all these, cohere these differences and influences and make it natural and sensible for a place to be cohesive? We have around our site a big population of people that are working at the House of Good Shepherd. CRCCS has a tremendous amount of staff daily in and out of our residential community, the professors and students from Utica University. So we want to take advantage of all these people, plus the 70,000 individuals within 3 miles distance, to create something really special, bring these people together, make it accessible for folks in the business park to come and have lunch and enjoy the wetlands, the parks, whatever we will have on site. Another big challenge for us is Burston Road and Champlain Avenue. 2 different streets, 2 very different purposes. One is a north-south connector, very much part of the Olmsted plan to expand west and perhaps circle back to the Mohawk Valley, the river up north as a connector. And then we have Burston Road, which has completely different character with all these individual retail outlets. And what's shown here are all the curb cuts, which is, to us planners, a very big deterrent to make good development, good plan. Because every 60 feet, you are in a curb cut where the car's gonna cut you off. Margaret is shaking her head. So it's 1,400 feet with 27 curb cuts. We must have, it's a challenge for us. We must have a way to manage that situation in order to make a good community, a good future community. So CRCCS, we would love to integrate that into the new community, as you can see here, maybe perhaps expand the senior trails that they have around, which is currently just around their building, around the site, and maybe we can walk around the wetlands. We have boardwalks for them. Maybe they can come to the town green. It's an asset, it's an anchor, and we want to provide them with all the operational necessities that they have, such as parking, the vehicle parking, the transportation trucks, all they need for their patients and residents, but for the families and staff working there, perhaps there's a greater opportunity in front of them on our site. So natural features, I already mentioned, a hedgerow to the west, wetlands, and then this whole feeling of mountains and valley and beautiful Mohawk Valley can bring that. We can bring that into the site to the extent possible. It would be a fantastic community that we're creating here. So lastly, we have a very difficult geometry to deal with. Our site is zigzagged all around the 4 edges. And with Champlain Road being a curve, Burston Road flying by, we have a very difficult intersection. So all these need a design response. So we will somehow pull some rabbits out of a hat and show you some options the next time we meet. So this is a mess of a drawing. It's a kind of putting all those things I mentioned together on one graphic. We need streets, we need edges, we need parks, we need development parcels, we need a frontage on Burston Road, we need to draw people into a deep site. So how do we organize all these elements and make sense of a place in creating a community that is not exactly business as usual? It wants to be creatively organized, managed, and be a new destination, a new place to be in New Hartford. So I'm going to stop the presentation right there just to go over some quick project management issues. So we started in February, as you can see here, end of January, February. We're now in March. Next time we see you will be in June, where we'll show you some concept alternatives and development plans for you to review. Again, like the county executive mentioned, there's no plan drawn without your input. So even with alternative site plans, there's opportunity for you to review, and we will report back with your with comments and integrate that into your final plan, which won't be done until September. So with that, our next step, as I mentioned, in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we'll develop some site concepts and alternatives, and we'll see you in June. Everything will be posted on the website, reimaginestluke's.com. And now we will start our brainstorming session where we can, the planning team is here, EDGE team is here, we can speak to you personally, answer your questions. We'll go to the cafeteria, there's some snacks. What we have prepared for you is a set of visual survey. So topics are organized such as town center, streets and parking, open spaces, regional landscape, housing types, and there will be great many images for you to prioritize. What we want to get out of here is a visual, almost a visual analysis of what you think would be most fitting to this site, so that we can have those images in our minds when we move forward. So with that, any questions I can answer here? Are you all ready for a fun exercise? I think our people will be there to give you instructions about how to respond to the prioritization. Yes, Chris is it, yeah.
I have 3 questions. Who owns the underlying fee interest in the land and buildings?
The Mohawk Valley Hospital healthcare systems.
Who will make the ultimate decision?
The master planning process is not an implementation plan. I really should defer to EDGE to answer this, but the way I know it is master plan is a guidance to move forward for people to consider what will happen here. The implementation is a completely different process. Whether there'll be a developer involved, whether there'll be Oneida County or EDGE involved, it's a completely different process that will start anew after the master plan. Master plan serves as a guide. Did I answer that correctly? Sean and EDGE folks? Chris, your third question.
Before the new hospital was built, Bob Schofield at the Fort Schuyler Club at a meeting of CPAs, bankers, and attorneys said that the best feature for the hospital, because of its infrastructure, was for IT uses. And I haven't seen any suggestion of adapting that building for IT use.
Adapting the new hospital or this building?
The existing building.
I am not aware of that. So I don't really know what he meant by IT uses. I mean, for research development or for as an infrastructure, housing for infrastructure. What infrastructure is needed. I'm not aware of that statement or of what he said. The current feasibility analysis is underway, and that will give us a clue into whether the building is salvageable, what part of it is salvageable, how much does it cost to save it, and what can it be used for. There's no firm question on that yet. Yes?
Just curious, we have a very old housing stock, very limited inventory available for would-be home buyers currently. I sense that you honed in on rentals in your comments. Why is that? And especially if you factor in, again, just look at New York Mills, old houses along old mill shacks, and West Utica very quickly is becoming rentals for Utica College, and yet there's still a desire by many people to own a home here.
Absolutely, I understand that. I didn't mean to hone in into rentals only. There'll be a mix, and whether it's 60-30, 40-60, 50-50, it's yet to be studied. And by the way, I would love this opportunity to ask you a question. Do you specifically mean single-family homes, or do you see opportunities for a variety of housing types, such as cottages and townhouses that I mentioned?
I think there could be a variety, but we have a lot of apartments being made available. We have a lot of multi-family dwellings in this area already, and I don't know that there's enough single-family. Most people today don't want to live in those older two-family homes where your grandparents live upstairs. It doesn't.
It's good. It's great to hear that comment. It's exactly what we needed to hear, and our market analysis actually confirmed that. So excuse me for really biasing the rental market, just because I think the market also tells us there's a lot of younger people moving in. So we want to have a variety of opportunities for them to rent and own.
I think younger people's tastes change, right? They're in their 20s, they may find the loft very desirable. In their 30s and 40s.
That's exactly why there has to be a variety, so that we can adapt to whatever market is in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Yes.
Yeah, so listening to everything tonight, primarily you are going in the direction of housing, with maybe a little bit of community space and this and that, but you definitely are going for housing, whether it be multifamily, single, and then maybe you can choose what you're going to do around the housing development. That's what I'm hearing. Is that basically what the plan is, master plan or whatever?
Is that a question or?
Yeah.
When you create a neighborhood, from as a planner point of view, you want mixed use, but there has to be a balance. A good community is made up mostly of residential. As you all know, you live in your community, but you also desire retail environment, shopping environment, conveniences that are close by, right? So it's a mix of those things. Like I said, until we test out some of these scenarios, it's hard to say just how much housing, but the bones of it, I have to say most communities are made of good housing stocks, a variety of housing stocks. You want to make the community strong, you want to start with good housing types, a variety of housing. Yes?
Yeah, I have to tend to agree that you were honing in mostly on housing and retail. But I didn't hear much about recreational.
Oh.
Okay?
We should go. Yeah, we should do.
I was not here for the February presentation. This is my first time, but I've lived in the neighborhood. I've been here for 35 years. And I know you're surrounded by college, New York Mills, you got Donovan Middle School over here, you got Notre Dame over here. They could all use recreational facilities such as an indoor facility such as Accelerate or something to that effect. Pickleball is being very big right now. My wife's got an extra racket because I won't.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said earlier.
These are all things that would accentuate a community.
Absolutely.
Okay?
We completely agree.
You're surrounded by schools that...
Come on down to the cafeteria, and you're going to see that we are...
Margaret,
I didn't see it up here.
No, Margaret, just let me answer that question. We couldn't show you everything that we did.
Okay.
I showed a couple scale comparisons. One of the most important and fun scale comparisons that we did is a skating rink. So we thought outdoor activity.
Now you piqued my interest.
Skating rink in the winter, pickleball in the summer. I did one in Pittsburgh that you can all look it up. It's very successful, surrounded by restaurants, outdoor dining. So all those are in the cafeteria for you to prioritize. We didn't mention much recreation and trails because it's always embedded in our plan. I just assume it's going to be that way. The kind of connectivity to regional trails, open space, and recreation. There's a board of recreation, outdoor activity for you to compare and contrast. Yes, Christian.
Real quick. I think one thing is pretty clear that we've got really great engagement here. No decisions have been made. And even if we made the best plan, like even if you had this plan that everybody loved, the first major investor here is going to throw it in the garbage, or not the whole plan, but they're going to throw the mixes and the dominant uses and stuff. We don't know, but what we know is that we want to make sure that the community creates magnificent, one-of-a-kind real estate. Real estate where people want to invest in, where their kids want to, where they feel safe for their kids to be, where they can mix, they can be with their parents, their grandparents, their pets, their significant others. So like, whether it's single family, whether it's rental, whether it's recreation, whether it's, I'm going to say this, people are going to cringe, Top Golf, whatever it is, right? Like, we don't know what that is, but what we have to do now is rationalize the infrastructure, create a great place for people, for somebody to invest over the long term, because this is 50-something acres, right? Like, this is a massive, massive property. Think about your development and how many acres it is. You can fit 10 of them in here, right? So I think there's room for everything.
That is Christian from Mohawk Valley EDGE. I want to just add one thought to that, which is a great plan will draw great investment interest. So we'll close with that, because when your input creates a great plan, it will draw great developers, and that's what we're here to do for you. All right, move on to the cafeteria.
Yes, come out and snack.
That's the end of this episode of Morris Matters. Join us for another episode filled with interesting and informative guests and topics. In between podcasts, you can keep up with important news by going to morrismatters.com. Feel free to react to our website or podcast by sending an email to denofdiscussion@gmail.com.